Welcome to Green Dot Daily, live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. And if you're watching on YouTube, we hope you're subscribed to our channel. I'm Maria Marino, and coming up on the show, NHL picks and analysis with Tim Kalinowski and Nick Martin. But we start in the NBA. And what a night for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson missed most of the first half against Indiana with a foot injury, and OG Anunoby held it down, scoring a playoff career high 28 points. OG then had to exit with a hamstring injury, but Brunson returned and powered through, finishing with 29 points to go up 2-0 in the series. Our NBA expert, Brandon Anderson, is with us now. So the Knicks took care of business at home, but are you worried about Brunson and Anunoby for the rest of the series?
I think you have to be, right? The Knicks already have had this big depth disadvantage. It's weird. That has been Tibbs' thing for years, has been having this great second unit come in. There is no second unit. There's no second unit at all anymore. It's just the starters. Josh Hart is not set for a second yet this series. He's doing everything out there. And look, if Brunson can't go or is limited, or OG, there's not a lot of other options here. We're already missing Mitchell Robinson. We're already missing Julius Randle, Bojan Bogdanovic. These guys are out entirely. Like, if you throw in Brunson and Anunoby into the mix, that is a legit starting five that might just not be able to go. And honestly, the Pacers have played them quite well anyways on the road. Indiana at home, that's where you've wanted to back this team in the playoffs. That's where they have a little extra energy boost. That's where the bench advantage is even bigger. I think Indiana game 3, especially first half, that is a great spot. That's one I've wanted to bet right away, grabbed immediately. That line's already rising. Teams that are down 0-2 coming home in game 3, first half ATS, 90, 46, and 1, 66% cover rate. This is a great historical spot to back the Pacers here. I think they're still alive in the series if the injuries are real.
Yeah, got to get on that. And I just keep wondering, when are, Josh Hart, Jalen going to start showing signs of slowing down? Josh Hart probably never, but now Jalen, at least you're concerned about his health. And you said it, they just don't have the depth. At some point, you feel like it might catch up. But in the other Eastern Conference series, which I admit I'm not as locked into, Celtics lead the Cavs 1-0. What has been your approach to the series?
Yeah, my approach has been to just take the Celtics to win and kind of stay out of the way. I took Celtics -1.5 on the series spread. That means Celtics to win in 6 or less. That is not because I think the Cavs are going to push this to 6. That is because the Celtics love to screw around and give away games that they shouldn't. These teams are miles apart. There's no reason the Celtics should do anything but sweep, but the Celtics never sweep. They never do. There's a lot of shot variance. They take a ton of threes. The Cavs took a lot of threes in game 1. So I think there's a huge gap between the teams. The Celtics are monster favorites, but I'm not really going too invested into the series. Just kind of have to stay out of the way on this one and look further down the road.
And Celtics double-digit favorites again for tonight's game 2. What's your play there?
Yeah, it's the biggest line, 13.5. Biggest line since 2018 after the first round in the playoffs. So this is a huge spread. And I looked, be careful from Bet Labs. Teams that are 13-point favorites or more, like the Celtics are, only 3-8 against the spread after round 1. So not necessarily a spot you want to back a huge favorite here. Although JB Bickerstaff, Cavs coach, is awful on the road, awful as an underdog. I can't do a spread here. What I will do is fade the Cavs offense. Give me the under 98.5 team total. And as much as I don't love this series, I really like this bet actually. So in the last 2 playoffs, the Cavs have had 11 games now. They're averaging 95.2 points a game. They have had only 2 games even hit 100 points out of 11. We're seeing teams put up 140. The Cavs can't hit 100. No triple digits. Their road games, here's the scores in their road games. 79, 93, 83, 89, 96, 95. They are averaging 89 a game on the road. They're 6-0 to this under. Look, by almost 10 points. So if the Cavs hit a bunch of threes and go over this, we'll live with it. I just don't see their offense doing enough here on the road.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Let's talk about the Mavs and Thunder also back at it tonight. How are you betting both the series and this game too?
Yeah, I liked Thunder in 6 or 7 before the series, and based on just game 1, I'm a little worried I may have given Dallas almost too much credit. Luka Doncic does not look healthier right now, and the Mavs did not look great in that one, especially their 2-point percentage. They really struggled to be efficient. So I'm playing props tonight. I'm not quite in on a series bet or a spread pick because I'm still, game 2 is tricky. Like, you don't want to overreact to game 1. So I'm going to be careful here. I'm going to play one guy I like and one guy I don't like so much. So here's the guy I like. Daniel Gafford was awesome in game 1. He had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 blocks in 27 minutes. This for me is a continuation bet. This was a bet I liked before the series. Give me Daniel Gafford to lead game 2 in rebounding plus 450. So this is really a bet on Gafford, but it's a fade of Luka Doncic. Here's Luka's rebounds. Normally he's the leader, right?
Yeah.
Last 3 games, 7 rebounds, and then only 6 in game 1. That to me is where that knee injury is playing in. He's just not getting quite as many rebounding chances, almost 11 a game, down from 16 the first 5 games. Gafford was 15-1 to lead the series. He's now plus 170. That was a bet we had. This is just for game 2. I think he has a great chance to lead the game. He led in game 1. He had the most rebounding chances too. So grab the plus 450 for Gafford, rebounding leader for game 2.
All right. High on Gafford. Who are we fading tonight?
Yeah, sorry to Josh Giddey, but it's time to fade our guy. This has been a guy that for a long time, we've speculated, will he be played out of the rotation? When we get to a meaningful spot, will Josh Giddey stay on the court? So far, not great results for our guy. Dallas basically played Giddey off the court immediately. So game 1, he only played 17 minutes. He gets benched mid-second quarter, not his usual rotation. What happens? Immediately, OKC goes on a 33-22 run without Josh Giddey. They adjusted, they get more spacing, and they go up plus 11. Then Giddey starts second half, they go -8. Giddey comes out, benched again, plus 9 to end the quarter. That's what we're seeing is without Giddey, OKC actually, Dallas played him so well that they shot themselves in the foot with us. So in game 1, Giddey had 2 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was -7 in a game his team won by 22 points. So here's the play. This is a same game parlay. I am fading everything about Josh Giddey. Give me the under points, 8.5, the under rebounds, 5.5, and the under assists, 3.5. This is not a PRA under. This is a P and R and A under. All of the things plus 750. He's hit this twice already. He hit this in game 1, both series. Hopefully it's in game 2. If the minutes just aren't there, you can't put up any stat on the bench. And I worry that Giddey might just not be fit for this matchup.
Tough matchup for him for sure. The unders, all the unders on Josh Giddey. Brandon Anderson, thank you so much for the insight.
Thanks, Maria.
Take a look at today's most bet props per MGM. We have Darius Garland to go over 15.5 points. Jalen Brown under 25.5 points. Kyrie Irving over 23.5 points. And Daniel Gafford to go over 10.5 points. Brian Matthews is with us now. Your reputation precedes you, making your GDD debut. How you feeling about props for tonight?
I'm feeling good. I was feeling a little bit better until you said that. I feel like I'm set up to fail. But no, I feel good. I have some spots I like. I did confirm with you before the show that they weren't the most bet props, which is reassuring. So I'm feeling good.
More so setting you up, just building up the anticipation. But let's start with Cavs, Celtics. Who you got?
Yeah, so I was looking at this, and I know this is a guy that I've tried to avoid all playoffs, and that's, Jason Tatum. But I'm not taking his points tonight, so I'm going to play Jason Tatum over 9.5 rebounds. So the reason I look at this matchup, if you go back in the last 6 games that he's played Cleveland, he's cleared 10 rebounds. In fact, in 5 of those 6 games, he's had at least 11 rebounds. So in his last 4 games overall, we're talking about a guy that has 11 rebounds or more in his last 4 games, regardless of opponent. So Yeah, he's clearly attacking the glass. He's finding a way to make impact outside of scoring. He has been, scoring's been a little down for him. So, not only that, Kristaps Porzingis is out. So, the rebounding opportunities have gone up. And I just think this is another spot where Tatum is going to find a way, to get rebounds. Cavs have had a tough time putting the ball in the hoop at times. And Tatum, the one thing he has been doing consistently is giving effort on the rebounding end. So I've got to back Jason Tatum over 9.5 rebounds, and played that over at Caesars.
Averaged 8 rebounds per game in the regular season. And I thought it was nice of you to explain a little bit down in scoring. Very, very nice way of saying that.
Yeah, trying to be a little PC there. Yeah.
Yeah, being professional, unlike me. What about Mavs Thunder? What's the key matchup here that you're looking to exploit, perhaps?
All right, so this one, I love this spot. I played this in game one. In fact, I laddered this one. Daniel Gafford over 17.5 points plus rebounds is actually now available. Prior to getting on, I would still play it at 18.5. So there are multiple reasons why I like this matchup. So I look, he had a brutal first matchup. I mean, the first series, the matchup was not good. Ivica Zubac and Mason Plumlee, you got big body guys. So when you come into this series against the Thunder, and now you have to deal with Chet Holmgren, it's like, all right, that's, a stiff breeze might be able to move him off the block. So, I just think, look, this is a matchup that he's dominated it too. I mean, the last three games that he's played against OKC, he has at least 16 points and at least 8 rebounds. So, I mean, if you're looking at this points plus rebound line and you're looking at his point production in the last 3 games, he's almost clearing it with points alone. So, I really think this is just a great series for Gafford, and I still think we're getting a slightly discounted rate just based on how the first series shook out. And then if you go back and say, all right, well, what has he done now that Maxi Kleber's out? It's like, all right, he's actually been fantastic. So his last, I believe, 8 games, he's cleared 18.5 points plus rebounds. And in many of those, it wasn't even close. I mean, he flew past that number. So I'm going to continue to buy until they keep raising it up. I mean, the one thing with Gafford, there's always a concern with foul trouble. He's got a proclivity for that. But I just think this is a fantastic matchup. He managed to avoid it in game one and went off. So I think we're going to see more of that tonight.
Yeah, definitely took advantage of the matchup in game one. The 16 points, as you mentioned, and 11 boards. Brian Matthews, that's it. Not too painful, right?
That's it? All right, that was much easier than I thought.
I mean, you can hang out longer if you want, but I'm sure you'll be back on the show before long. Thank you.
Perfect. Appreciate you having me.
Over to hockey. These are the latest odds to win the Conn Smythe Trophy for most valuable player to a team in the playoffs. Connor McDavid leads the pack at plus 700. Then Igor Shesterkin at plus 800. Nathan McKinnon at plus 1,000. And Cale Makar and Matthew Tkachuk round out the top 5. With that, we say hello to Tim Kalinowski and Nick Martin. We're going to get into NHL by playing Bet or Pass. So I'll give a statement. You guys tell me if you're on board or not. Sound good?
Let's play.
Let's do it.
First up, Connor McDavid is the clear Conn Smythe winner. Tim, bet or pass?
Well, I see what you guys did there. That was pretty cute with the Connor, the Conn Smythe. It was pretty good. I thought there was a mistake at first. So well done on the production team there. I'm going to go bet here because and the caveat I'll add here is that if you don't have any Oilers future money at this point in the game, I know a lot of people that have futures on other teams and they're looking for, to jump in on others as hedging mechanisms and just the sheer FOMO of missing out on hitting some sort of a plus money future. But McDavid definitely is the clear-cut Conn Smythe favorite in my book. Even though Edmonton's down 1-0 in the series, they're still favored to win the series. So if you don't have any Edmonton love, like I don't have any, and so I think this is the good opportunity to grab something Edmonton with Connor McDavid here.
Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. You're not the biggest fan of Edmonton right now either, but what do you think?
I'm not at all. And I honestly think you're going to take some, typically this isn't the kind of thing I'd advise, but I'd actually rather wait and see how game 2 looks. So for me right now, still a pass. I think that, and I mean, I gave this out 2 weeks ago, so it might seem dumb to say now you can get the same number that was there during the Kings series. But I think that there was too many flaws in Edmonton's game. I'd rather see how they respond in game 2 than to do this right now. The second pairing was a complete travesty. Skinner was horrific. So maybe those are one-offs, maybe they're not. But I think I've seen enough that I'm like, let's see how it goes. They're getting a ton of credit for just like they're still huge favorites. If they win this game 2, they're going to swing back to being the outright favorite by a fair bit. So I'd rather wait and see. It feels like they're still getting a lot of credit. And the other thing is like, if Demko comes back and plays good, that could be a gigantic factor in this series. So I think there's like all the reasons to wait because Seelovs was pretty terrible last night and the Oilers still managed to lose that game. So I think that's what makes it such a particularly awful loss. So I'm saying pass. I think the Oilers, I'm a little worried about them right now.
I feel like I struck a nerve there by asking you about that. But look, we saw how Igor Shesterkin had the second best odds. And with all respect to the Rangers, number 2 here, the Panthers are the best team in the Eastern Conference. Bet or pass, Tim?
Yes, 1,000 times. Yes. And I don't care what Nick Martin's going to say next, because after game 1 of Boston, Florida, we hopped on the Line Change podcast and Leboff and Nick were saying, I don't know, this Bruins team might have the makings to do it. I don't know. I said, listen, it's just one game. It's like tennis. You lose the first set, 6-love. You're still in it. It's no different than losing 1-0. The Panthers, to me, are still the class of the field in the Eastern Conference. Shout out to Bridie, one of our producers here. She has a Panthers Cup future from a couple months ago, so she knows what she's doing. She sees it how we do. I think Florida, for a number of reasons, just how they're built, they can score and defend at a high level. And when Bobrovsky's on his game, that's really the X factor over a lot of teams in this race. It's goaltending is a concern. Bobrovsky's good enough. So yes, 1,000 times yes.
Man, our production team is just on point today. But Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think they're the best in the East by a fair bit. And I mean, Tim kind of sewered me there. I think people who tailed the Bruins both games did better than people who took the Panthers loss in one game, right?
That may be true. That may be true.
But yeah, I have to agree. And you really have to consider out of their whole postseason, I think they have been the most impressive team. You look at what they did to Tampa. There was like some talk in the hockey world that Tampa was still the contender that they once were. And Florida arguably had the most dominant win, aside from maybe the Rangers, but the Rangers were playing like a lottery team. So it's not exactly a one-to-one comparison. So yeah, I just think what Florida's done, they've shown a much more well-rounded game. I think you have to like their chances, and I think tomorrow night's a good time to get on them to expose the Bruins and take advantage of home and road splits that have been very profitable this season.
All right, well, more on that later, but I think it's worth noting that the Rangers currently have the better odds in the East. They're up 2-0 on the Hurricanes with game 3 tonight in Carolina. Now in the West, the Stars need a win tonight to get momentum back. Bet or pass? And Nick, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and say pass. I think that the Avs right now this is a series between 2 Stanley Cup contenders. And as lame as it is, I just feel like you're just giving back. There's no edge in guessing which team's going to come out on top in this game for me. I think if anything, you have to lean towards the Avs at plus money. I think that's going to be the case in a lot of this series. I'll be looking to bet Dallas. I think one of the games in Colorado for sure when they swing to being plus 120. But right now, I just don't think it's there. The Avs, they keep rolling this 5-man unit of their top line and their top defense pairing, and no one in the league has any answers for it. And unless the Stars are going to get significant depth scoring to help account for the minutes they're going to lose versus that 5-man unit, they're not going to win this series. And I think right now you just can't count on what needs to go right for Dallas. So for me, I love the Stars. They'd be my best possible scenario for a cup winner in terms of handicapping, but I'm not convinced right now that you want to lay minus 126 or whatever the current is to bet them tonight.
Tim?
Yeah, listen, I mean, the question is, do they need to win? The answer is no, just, pass essentially, because what they just did in Vegas, they lost 2 games at home and then ended up winning the series. I think, that's really hard to do twice, dig yourself that hole again. But to me, the real piece here of concern is the Stars, I think, can lose game 2 and still be okay, but their goaltender, Jake Ottinger, has to look good. what we saw Colorado do to a Winnipeg Jets team that is going to have the Vezina winner in net in Connor Hellebuck, that they just completely made him look like a street hockey goalie. And the Stars, their advantage is that Ottinger, his ceiling is that of a Connor Hellebuck. And he has to play good enough to give you reason to believe that the Stars can win this series. So that's what I'm looking at. More so, less about the actual result of game 2 and more about how Jake Ottinger plays.
Well, while we're on the subject, we're going to get picks from both of you guys. And speaking of that series, Tim, you do have a pick for tonight's game 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under 6.5 here at -120. Look, it's tough betting a Colorado under. I'll tell you that. I think they've only had one under in this playoff run here, and it was a 5-1 game. So yeah, they certainly take care of their side of the equation. But to me, I think that a lot of, like I just alluded to, game 1 came down to poor goaltending. I thought Georgiev gave up a soft one or two, and obviously Ottinger, what I noted. The expected goals in that game were, a lot of models differ on how lenient they are with expected goals, but the game should have been under if it wasn't for the power play, Colorado burying on the power play. So I think that Dallas, in order for them, I expect a better push from them, and their better push is tightening up defensively. And I think Colorado, when you're a road team in the playoffs, you're pretty fine playing that style of game. So I could see this being a little bit slower than 7 goals here. So give me the under.
Puck drops at 9:30 Eastern. Dallas trying to even things up at home. Now, Nick, you have a pick as well, but you alluded to this earlier. You're looking at the Panthers tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd rather just give out my favorite pick out of what will be the next 2 nights with the Panthers at -125. I'm really not seeing this number. I feel like it's getting a little stale to just make the same point about home and road splits so consistently, and like all the work I'm doing right now. But it just continues to prove to be such a huge point about every price in every playoff game this season. The Panthers just closed at -170 for game 2 and absolutely dominated the Bruins in every possible area of the game. They've been considered the way better side all season long. And Boston continues to illustrate next to no home ice advantage, really, in the playoffs. They won game 7 last series, which would be the one thing that kind of works in that favor. But the rest of the series, really, I mean, you could argue that they still even played better in Toronto than anywhere else. Last season in this exact series, home and road splits meant nothing. So for me, I'm just looking at it. -125 is a really good price to get the Panthers at if you don't believe in the home and road splits, which I completely don't. Last year, road teams went 42-36. This year, they're 1 game above 500. And every time series shift from location to location, we're seeing like 40-cent moves, 45-cent moves. And in this particular instance, more than any of the rest, like last series, when the location changed, there's a couple variables like Matthews coming in and out, Nylander coming in and out, that sort of thing. There's no one coming in and out of this game. This is just strictly odds makers saying that Florida, it should only be -125 here after closing -170 last game and demolishing the Bruins. I don't see it. I really don't. I think that you're getting a good price to back the Panthers here. Worst case scenario, I'll probably just go right back to it in game 4, but I think this price is just off. I think that the Panthers should be closer to -145 here.
Well, good looking out. We appreciate the advice, and we're going to have a little more fun before you guys go and get your opinions on something slightly more useless. But with an NHL team coming to Utah, you guys, I'm sure have heard, residents of the state can vote for what they want the new team name to be. There are about 20 finalists to choose from. So Tim, I'll start with you here. What are some of the options that you love for the new Utah hockey team?
Oh, we got to start with love. Listen, Maria, honestly, I kind of hate every single one of these. And I didn't have a strong opinion on it until in our production meeting when Brendan Anderson was saying that he doesn't like when teams don't have a S at the end, like a plural. So you could say the Yetis or whatever, because I guess you're only going to be able to say Yeti. There's no plural of Yetis. It's just Yeti. So listen, I got that in my head and I want something with an S. So Outlaws, if I had to pick something, and honestly, like maybe Yeti, just because it'd be so hilarious to have everyone confused about calling them the Yetis. And then you get people on Twitter being like, well, actually there can't be a plural of Yeti. So I think they're all like absolutely terrible. They're all like, it's like those lacrosse names, like the Chrome and the Diamond and whatever that like, I can't stand them.
Well, you know what I realized? I think part of the issue is the name or the word Utah. I feel like Utah just doesn't sound good with a lot of stuff, but Nick,
It should
what
be
is it
Salt
that
Lake
you like?
City. It should be Salt Lake City, unfortunately, but they want it Utah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was tough to list the ones that the list of ones we hate was too long. I couldn't even pick what to
Okay.
put in the document. But the Yeti is my first pick. I kind of like the ice too, going back to the old WHL team, the Kootenay Ice. Tim, to make a
Ice.
Jeff Merrick type reference for you here. I had been to their games growing up. I think that they had cool logos and learned to like the name, I guess. And that's the thing. All these names, I think do grow on you, right? I don't think at the time anyone loved the Kraken. I don't think it was like, and then now people have grown on it. The
Yeah.
underrated, I think Utah Hockey Club would be kind of funny. I don't know if it would actually work, but it makes me think of the Washington football team, and I love the Washington football team. So I
Yeah,
don't
but
hate that.
I do think hockey club sounds cooler than just like football team. Like I can get on board with Utah Hockey Club because I'm kind of like, I like simple, clean. Now, as far as names we hate, Tim, you pretty much already outlined you despise just about all of them. But Nick, what were some of the ones that really offended you?
What did I even pick in here? The Squall, the Venom, the Hive, the Swarm. Like, what are we doing here? Like Tim said, it just,
It's like backyard baseball.
I
yeah,
think Hive is horrible. And Venom just sounds like too campy, like too like, what is this? I don't know.
Oh, and the Canyons, the one with the S, I also still thought was
Yeah, because
terrible.
Well,
like
listen,
a canyon doesn't instill in fear in anyone, does it?
no, listen, the Hive, I guess there's actually like a big bee thing in Utah. It's like they're like a lot of state
Yeah, but
it has
Hive
it, it's terrible. You're right.
Hive
But
is
like
like that's what you call the fans. Like if you like
right.
the Hive, or I don't know, that it's not what you call the team, but maybe I'm just being picky. All right. Thank you very much for your valuable opinions on the matter. Nick Martin, Tim Kalinowski, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Maria.
And remember, any picks we give out here on GDD, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. And that's all for this episode of Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks a lot for watching. The show is back tomorrow as usual at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. See you then.